Hello my precious cinnamon rolls, my name is Phoephoe and I'm here back again playing Loren, the Amazon Princess. Now we just arrived at the world map. We've come from the Citadel here and there's the town of Grimoire here. Before we go anywhere else, we're going back to the Citadel, into the castle. Now Loren says, "Any news on my mother? Has she returned?" And as it says, "Not yet, Your Highness, I'm sorry." Loren frowned and took in a deep breath. We can't battle here yet. That's why I was in each village, city, anything that's not wilderness. You get some jobs and battles to do, but not yet. As they approached Grimoire, the path cut through a wooded area. Loren stopped abruptly and held her arm out to stop Eleanor. Her expression was serious and her voice low. Loren says, "Something isn't right here." They looked around, examining the area for anything out of the ordinary, and then they saw it. Someone was strung up by their feet from a tree limb, head down, the bag covering their body. The bag arrived. They were still alive. "Please help me." Loren and Eleanor wished to pause the person, but several little screeching creatures sprang down from the tree. Goblins. Fear shot through Eleanor. She realized the battle was now upon them, and that Princess Loren had never fought outside of training. It was up to her to protect the princess. Loren says, "Watch yourself." Eleanor says, "Same to you." Loren drew her two swords swiftly and hurried to engage the enemies. Loren says, "You do not have to give me any instruction." Eleanor was surprised to see how swiftly Loren moved as she fought. She stared at the vertical slash that moved so quickly that her blade looked like a solid arc of silver. The goblin collapsed to the ground in a bloody mess as she lifted her other sword, and a horizontal slash beheaded another goblin. She danced between the enemies and evaded their attempts and counterattacked with ease. Eleanor looked surprised to see how beautifully deadly all of her movements were. Loren impaled another goblin through the heart in one quick stab, retracting her blade and flicking the blood off the metal with casual ease. She didn't have to stop to catch her breath, nor did she break a sweat even in the short battle. You're about to select your party for formation. Right now you only have 2 party members, but later in the game you can have up to 6. Let's put them both in the front row. Okay. Here's the battle screen. We don't need to do the tutorial. Here's the battle screen. Basically, enemies up the top, party at the bottom. The highlighted character goes first, and now that's me, so we're gonna shoot our bow. The thing about this game is that you don't have to save before the battles. If you die, it lets you restart the current battle. Oh, here goes Loren. Keep melee attacks can only hit the front row, so should we do that with choose the thief, ranger, whatever she's called. We got status effects on these. With the staggered, reduces attributes and exposes them to vulnerable attacks. Except we don't have any of those skills yet. 2 down. Yes, I should mention there is voice acting in this game, but only during battle. It's very simple to start off with because we haven't learned much in the way of skills yet. And we got a move order in the right column here. Enemy information on the left. Melee attacks. Eleanor's melee attacks don't do much damage yet. And we win. Loot 28 XP. Eleanor hurried to keep up with her, but the fight was over quickly. Loren kept her swords in hand as she approached the stranger and cut the restraining rope. Eleanor grimaced but found some amusement as Loren's obvious lack of concern for the person. The person tumbled down from the tree, groaned, and then squirmed out the bag covering him. A lithe blonde man stood up and brushed the dirt from himself. Ow, the ground hurts quite a bit, actually. Loren, who are you? Even though the man's ears were tucked neatly behind his hair, Eleanor noticed them sticking out from behind his disturbed locks. They were pointed. "You are half-elf, aren't you?" Eleanor says. Draco says, "Oh, you can tell?" "No fooling you guys, I guess. Yes, I am the half-breedy type, half-elf." Draco says, "Is that a problem?" No, Eleanor says. Why should it be? He swiftly took Eleanor's hands and shook them gracefully. Oh, that's great. My name is Draco, but what shall I call this lovely flower? Loren says, enough of your nonsense. Loren waved her weapons as if he were as much as a threat as the goblins. Simply because he was a man or had her isolation at the Citadel turned her paranoid. He says, now, don't get upset. I'm just playing around. Identify yourself, Loren says. Now. Eleanor says, Your Highness, he just said... Draco says, I'm surprised you haven't heard of me. I'm the all-powerful, famous Master Fire Magician. He suddenly waved his fingertips in front of him and created a free fireball. He made a sound effect to accompany it and laughed. But his laughter was cut short when Loren kicked him straight in the chest and hurled him back towards the ground. Draco says, it was just a demonstration. I meant no harm, honestly. Eleanor says, Your Grace, I believe you won't hurt us. Loren slowly pulled a sword away from Draco's throat and stood straight. Loren says, You're right, because he's too incompetent to do any damage. Draco says, Incompetent? That's not fair. I must be really good with magic. All kinds. But fire is my favourite. My last name is Firestarter, after all. Loren says, Oh, then how did you get captured so easily by a small group of little goblins if you're so powerful? Draco says, It was a different group, a big group. Goblins as tall as trees. Yes, trees. Eleanor tried not to giggle in front of her mistress, for Loren would surely punish her. That's a very convenient excuse, Loren said. Says it was. They're accompanied by a very powerful goblin shaman. I couldn't hold out against them all on my own. And the shaman was as big as... Eleanor says, 2 trees? Draco blinked once and then burst out laughing, and Eleanor joined him. Yes, exactly, Draco said. Loren says, Silence. And then they were silent. Loren says, You let your guard down, no matter how tall a goblin, that's unacceptable. He says, if I'm more useful than you may think, lady, perhaps you'll be interested in my services. I wouldn't charge much. Loren says, No, we are not interested. Draco looked disappointed at her blunt response. Draco says, Not even if I throw in an especially beautiful lady discount? Loren ignored him and walked away. Draco says, Then it's your loss then. Bye, I suppose. They walked away from the disappointed magician. Eleanor spoke quietly to Loren once they were out of earshot. I'm sure that won't be the last time we see that man. Loren says, Unfortunately. I saved my game again. We'll go towards Grimoire again. Quest completed, travel to Grimoire, 100 XP. We level up a bit. We're going to put all her attributes in strength. We can get 1 skill point. We have the warrior tree, which is something all warriors have. It increases hit points. Enemies hate towards it's like threat generation and power attack. We've got a special skill tree that is unique. To Loren, this is a dual wielding thing. She's already got that one. Offhand weapons, you flip 50% damage. She's already got that. Rally. Knockdown. No mercy. You need to be staggered for that one. We'll get the knockdown. Let's get Eleanor. We're going to put hers in skill. Now, she has her unique tree is healer based stuff, so you can... She's already got a healing one already. She get a resurrection spell. Stamina, which is skill points. A ward, which is elemental resistance, is like elemental armor. And a purge of bad statuses. And her skill tree is the thief. They all depend on having status attacks though. So the first thing we're going to get is Restore, which is the resurrection spell. Arrived in Grimoire, Eleanor was able to get them past the gate without any trouble, just a warning to keep all weapons away. The upper market of the town square was bustling with activity. Loren says, So, this is all the human empire can show for the capital. Let's be friendly. Eleanor says, I see nothing wrong with it, your highness, it's only different from the Citadel. Loren looked at Eleanor strangely, but did not say anything. Come, we need to find out what these settlers know. Loren wants to search all over Grimoire for clues, and Eleanor will have a chance to react to each Eleanor will have a chance to react to each location. This is a time to build your character's personality. Every time you select a choice between joking, friendly, or forceful, you influence Eleanor's attitude. And your search goes time. Marketplace. They walked through the stalls of the market. Loren flinched and recalled that everyone was hurrying past her. The patient disappeared. She stamped her foot and shouted at the top of her lungs. Enough! I am Loren of the Amazons. I am on a search for my mother. The whole of the marketplace turned to gawk at her, and then they continued what they were doing, completely uninterested. Loren was stunned, having never been ignored in her life. Eleanor was worried that she would take it personally and become angry, so she swooped in to disrupt her thoughts. Just ask one of the vendors personally. Maybe they have seen our queen. Loren's lips pressed tightly together. She reluctantly walked up to a fruit stall. I'm Princess Loren, my mother, the queen of the Amazons. Vendor says, fresh apples, good fruit for you. The salesman picked up a bright red fruit that neither of them seen before and shoved it into Loren's hand. Her eyes went large from being handled like a commoner. 1 apple or 2 apples? Loren, however, was too offended to respond. 2 apples for the big woman. 2 apples, 6 gold. Friendly. No apples, we're not purchasing anything, we're sorry. Loren dropped the apple without care for it. We're leaving? Yes, ma'am. Princess would not subject herself to the horror of the marketplace again. Combat arena. Loren wished to appeal to the strongest people of the city, and the grand arena in the heart of Grimoire attracted her immediately. So this is their training ground? It's odd-looking, almost like a temple. Considered suited to seat an audience, perhaps for approving. It says we should be able to find the most influential people here. Eleanor hoped this was true, but every culture revered warriors like the Amazons. Loren walked straight into the open pit without trouble, looking very much like she belonged there. Gladiators were training loudly before them, and a few spectators were seated in the stands. Where are all the women? Loren says. The master says, are you a new recruit? I wasn't told about you. Grizzled old man eyed Loren up and down, making him uncomfortable. Behind him was a large gladiator resting against his sword. This guy will be important later. Loren says, bring me your mightiest warrior. The gladiator raised his chin. Oh, master says, you're looking at him. Why? Loren says, we need a favour in search for my mistress's mother. Oh, master and the gladiator both turned to see Eleanor for the first time. They got to Eleanor reaching for their weapons. Gladiator says, an elf. Oh, master says, how did you get into the city? We're friendly. Eleanor says, just walked in. Why? We don't need any more fighters, so you can go back to wherever you crawled out from. Eleanor blinked to the battle that her existence disturbed them. She could barely comprehend it. Fortunately, the wren stepped in between them to shield her. She's a servant of the Amazons. Eleanor says, servant? Loren says, we're done here. Loren whipped away from the men, and Eleanor rushed after her. The Empire's warriors were not at all what they had hoped. She searched the guard post. They opted to ask officials rather than the public. When they watched up the guard post, the soldiers' chatter was quickly silenced. Loren merely stood, her legs spread and her arms crossed, and not a man was taller than her. No one spoke for a very long moment. Friendly. We're sorry to intrude, but we have an important inquiry. God says, who are you and why are you here? And says, I am Princess Loren of the Amazons. My mother is the queen of the Amazons. She's going to be saying that a lot. And God says, you're a princess? Loren, my mother has gone missing and she's believed to have travelled through your lands. Does the Amazons really exist? I thought my parents made them up to scare me. Loren says, have you seen my mother? Tell me where she is. God, so there really is a group of women in the mountains that enslave men. All of the guards were deadly serious, their looks turning heated. Loren says, I am not ashamed of my culture. The guard says, so it's true. The guards broke out in insults, demanding they get out of sight, and they were not welcoming Grimoire. Eleanor pleaded with Loren not to kill them, so that she would not earn the ire of the Empire, or else they would never find her mother. The search was not going well. No shit. Everybody's horrible here. Castle. The highest place of authority was naturally the next step in their search, and I'm going to point out that this background is the same one that was used for the castle in the Amazon Citadel, but hey, what are you going to do? The highest place of authority was naturally the next step in their search. Yep. I got right at the castle and able to step inside the grand hall, which was open to the public. They were not allowed in any further, however. A group of guards and a royal vassal were blocking the entrance to the inner cloister, and many peasants were already pleading with the vassal to gain entry. Peasant says, please, my family is starving, you must let me in. The vassal says, the council is in session, and we will hear no one. Be gone. Loren pushed past everyone with ease and stood at the front of the mob. The vassals took a step back just to take her in. The guards went tense from how threatening she looked. Loren says, I am Loren of the Amazons. Again, I have come to speak with your queen. Also says, queen? What queen? The Empire has no queen. Loren closed her eyes briefly as if it pained her. Then your king. Vassal says, are you joking? We have a city council that governs the Empire, not the king and queen. Technically, it's not an empire if you don't have an emperor, isn't it? Whatever. Loren says, then tell your council that I seek an audience with her. Ma'am, Eleanor says. The vassal laughed at Loren, instantly enraging her. Jaw clenched, but she restrained herself. Friendly. Eleanor says, this is the Amazon princess, so isn't there some protocol for royalty? Elsa says, right, she's a princess and I'm a forest nymph. Forest nymph. Can't say that. Nymph. There were 6 princesses who tried to get inside today, lady. Loren says, I will not ask you again until your council that Loren of the Amazons demands an audience. The Amazons raise their weapons, ready to eject Loren from the premises. Loren says, Mistress, let's not get thrown out of the city, or worse, in jail. Loren says, you will not get away with this. When my mother is restored to the throne, she will punish you. The vassal did not seem worried, though Eleanor knew that he definitely should be. Tavern. The search for information was more difficult than anticipated. Their investigation only brought them trouble and suspicion amongst the locals. Worse, Loren was not earning any favour for being an Amazon princess. She confided in Eleanor that if her title was not to be honoured, then she would refrain from invoking it. She was willing to put her pride aside for the sake of her mother. By the time they reached the tavern, the sun was starting to set. Fearful of getting the same treatment that she received everywhere else, Loren held back and waited for Eleanor to turn to her. Loren said, It is late and we have learned nothing new. What do we do now? Eleanor was surprised at first, not understanding why royalty would ask her to be a servant for advice, and she remembered it was the first time that Loren had been outside the Amazon citadel. Oh, yes, I should add that Loren is a bisexual romance option. However, today we're being friendly. Eleanor should rent a room from the owner of this tavern and inn. We will make more progress tomorrow. Is it really safe for us to do that in a place like this? I'll guard you vigilantly tonight, Your Highness. Everything will be fine. I says, very well, that sounds like a good idea. I'm not surprised, but nodded in agreement. She led the way up to the man behind the bar. Loren walked over the counter with a confident stride. I says, give me a room. The bartender ignored her and continued what he was doing. Did he not hear me? Loren says, maybe not. Loren, you, give me one of your rooms. Loren raised her voice when she spoke, but the owner still ignored her. Loren says, acknowledge my presence, you uneducated lout. Eleanor says, let me try, Your Highness. So, maybe please won't renew your rooms for tonight. Nothing. Loren says, these humans are animals. The bartender scoffed. Loren's patience was gone. She reached across the bar and grabbed the owner by his tunic, yanking him clear off the ground. In the citadel, Loren says, guards! Some guards were standing in the corner, hurried forward to apprehend them. Draco suddenly appeared out of the crowd and hurried to the side of Loren and Eleanor. Loren says, begone, weakling! Draco says, no need to thank me. A half-elf magician whipped up a bright hot wall of fire, sending everyone further into a panic. The fire did not burn anything, but it was too hot, keeping the guards at bay. Loren says, you followed us. Draco said, of course I did. Loren drew out her swords. Loren said, I spared your life once, don't get in the way again. Eleanor says, don't kill anyone, we don't want trouble with the Empire. Draco says, yes, that's what she said, I'm too handsome to die. Loren growled and ran right through the wall of fire. Draco and Eleanor could only hear her fight off the guards. Draco, she shouldn't be able to do that. Eleanor shook her head and ran through the fire as well to help her mistress. Draco chuckled at how little his magic daunted these two travellers. Not like most folk, are you? Draco will now fight on your side. He's a mage in his very useful area of effect spells. The guards are resistant to normal physical damage, but weak against fire. Use Draco's fireball wisely. We put him in the back row, because his melee attacks aren't any use. Oh, we got a aim shot. See, he has normal melee attacks, which is in there, a magic bolt, which is a little bit of damage, and his fireball, which if we attack the person in the middle, it'll attack both sides. So it's an AoE, but it only attacks on one, like, to the left and right. So we need to do it on target the middle guy. The primary target takes most damage, as you can see, and the other two take splash damage. So that worked well. I'll put my speed on slow at the moment, but I'm going to do knockdown on this guy. He's got a... I'm trying to see what status symbol that is. Confused! Magic value is reduced. Draco gets another attack. I think he'll kill everybody with this one. There we go. Loren levels up. And we got a gem. That's just for selling. Again, I'm going to put it all into strength. We don't get a skill point this time. Loren kicked the last guard, sending him to the floor where the rest of the guards were groaning in pain. The fire died down, and an empty tavern was all that was left. Loren wiped the blood from her face and stalked back over to the bartender. Where were we? Martin says, "Begone, you filth! I'll only call more guards." Before Loren could respond, a bag of gold suddenly dropped onto the bar top in front of them. Everyone looked over to see a stout girl sitting at the bar with her hand on her hip. "Oh, just give the silly people their room, Gunther. Stick to your own business, little girl." "Little girl! Little girl!" She stood straight up from the bar and stomped over to the party, kicking mugs, plates off the top as she did. Her small stature told him immediately she was a female dwarf, not a young woman. This is one of my favourite characters. She's just lovely. Girl says, "You take that back, or I'll just be taking my bag of gold back." Everyone stared at her. Even at her size, she looked deadly and dangerous, and if she had bags of gold to throw away, she was probably something of great importance. "Loren, nuts?" The dwarf woman suddenly smiled and laughed. "I'm just joking with you. Being little is my best quality. Fit in small spaces and never be found for days. My name's Dora, by the way, and this is Gunther. Say hi, Gunther." The bartender mumbled and took the money and exchanged it for a room key. "Dora, that's a lovely name for a lovely dwarf. I'm Draco, your fire starter, and yes." Draco reached up to shake the dwarf's hand, but Loren quickly slapped his arm away. Loren says, "What do you expect in return for your gold? Why are you helping us?" Dora says, "Because you're different." Eleanor says, "You mean strangers?" And Dora says, "No, silly, I mean you're really tall and angry looking. You're an Amazon, right?" Dora says, "And you're an elf, aren't you?" "An Amazon?" Draco says, "Ooh, that explains the tallness and the angriness." Dora says, "I'm a dwarf, so I'm different too. Here's a tip for you, since you're obviously new around here, money always makes you new friends." Laura says, "Thank you for your advice." Dora says, "You're very welcome, miss." Laura says, "Would you perhaps be interested in sticking together? I need all the allies I can get." Eleanor blinked to surprise Loren, but Draco frowned immediately. Dora says, "We're in the process of conducting a rather lengthy search. Would you like to come for me?" Dora says, "A trip, huh? I don't know about that. I can't afford to just leave my job here." Loren says, "There will be a substantial reward upon completion. I am Princess Loren of the Amazons." Dwarf's eyes lit up. "A princess? That sounds very interesting. I've always been a bit adventurous, you see." Dora, she's a thief, like a thief and a hunter. For the first time since Eleanor had known her, Loren smiled. Loren said, "I'm glad to see that. We'd love to have you come along with us." She says, "Why did she get a formal invitation when I got a pointy sword to the throat?" Loren's demeanour changed when the man approached her with a scowl on his face. Jacob says, "I'm a magician. I have amazing skills. Look." There's fireworks shooting out of his hand. Gunther says, "Knock that off." Jacob says, "Oops, sorry." Loren says, "You're so persistent." I turned to Eleanor to ask the next question. "What do you think we should do?" "Friendly. I think we should accept Draco as very helpful to us stay here." Loren says, "You do have a point. Be useful to us in the future as well, thanks to his magical skills." To admit you're right, we should accept him then. She returned to Draco, her expression as impassive as it always was when she dealt with men, and says, "You may draw on our group if you're so determined." Because there's stars and moons, my wishes have been granted. Hey! Loren says, "Calm down." Draco says, "Yes, your mighty Amazon princess ship." Loren sighed in exasperation, and Eleanor was simply amused. The newly expanded group ended up booking 3 rooms from the cranky owner. Draco and Dora each took their own room, while Laura and Eleanor shared a room. They both sat down on Laura and started to undress her in light armour. She stopped before she had removed the top when she noted that Eleanor was watching. She was strong more than physically. There was no question that she was psychologically strong. As well, for only a person with a great strength of heart would venture onward in search of her mother after such an important person was reported missing. Eleanor looked away before the Amazon said anything. "You're a very admirable person, your highness." Eleanor says, "Thank you." Eleanor says, "I'm sure you have many admirers back at the Citadel." Eleanor says, "I do, but most of them aren't even worth my time." Eleanor says, I see. There just about one reason why the only real use for men is to procreate. It's just a shame that more races do not agree with the principle. The world would be a much more peaceful place if they did, don't you agree? Eleanor says, "You're probably right." Eleanor says, "Probably." Eleanor says, "I mean, you must certainly correct, your majesty." No comment on that conversation. The sun disappeared between the horizon and the room became completely dark as night came. The conversation would have gone better. That was the moment Eleanor realised just how special Loren was. She was beautiful, deadly on the field of battle, and later in this tale, she was beautiful, deadly on the field of battle, and later in this tale, the one to make the most difficult decision. Eleanor woke up with a start when she heard several suspicious noises and saw that Loren was already awake, hurriedly getting dressed in her armour. Loren says, "Get ready to fight." Eleanor says, "What, right now?" While she sounded surprised, she was getting ready for the conflict also. Eleanor says, "We've got trouble brewing. It's probably an assassination attempt. You should have woken up before me if you wanted to earn any respect." Before she had the chance to respond, the glass of the window shattered as several thugs came piling inside. "You have no business here," Eleanor snapped. The thugs didn't respond as they reached for their weapons and started to approach ominously. Eleanor says, "State your names." Despite her stentorian orders. They did not respond. Loren drew her sword without further hesitation and hurried towards the rest of the thugs. Be careful, if after this battle the party won't have enough time to heal automatically, so start the next one, the conditions you end this one. It's recommended to save. Excuse me. We've only got those two at the moment. We're fine. Aim shot. Knockout. 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 Aim shot. Loren's running out of energy, so she can't do more special attacks yet, but that's okay. Oh, she's been scared! Huh. We need to move her back to the front row. Oh, okay. I need to wait till that wears off, so instead I'm just going to use a potion on Eleanor. Oh, we need a potion. Oh, we can use our own healing ability. As long as Eleanor doesn't die, we can res Loren. Oh, this is getting a bit close. Oh dear. Have we got any resurrection potions? We don't. Fuck. Yeah, when you kill somebody that's in the front, when you kill the entire front row, anybody that's in the back row will then become the front row, regardless of whether it's bad guys or your own party. Ooh, that's a bit close. She gets revived to 1 hit point, I think. Oh no, you get to get full health after you've leveled up. Okay. After the first wave finished, Draco and Dora burst into the room. Dora says, "Princess Loren, Eleanor, what's all the ruckus?" Draco says, "We heard noises and came as quickly as we could." Loren says, "You're a bit late, actually." There wasn't enough time for the conversation to continue, though. A new group of enemies started to materialise before them. The form seemed to solidify before their very eyes. Too many S's. Eleanor tensed instinctively, knowing that there was sorcery at play. The adversaries that had materialised were none other than a few goblins and a giant hulking overlord. Draco says, "It's Grob! The goblin shaman who captured you?" Loren asks. Draco says, "Yes, be careful, his magic's very powerful." Dora says, "Not even 1 tree tall." Draco said, "Magic's magic, we can handle a few greenies by ourselves." That was Dora, sorry, not Draco. Dora pulled out a short bow and an arrow. Dora says, "Indeed." Boss fight! Okay, we want these guys in the back, I think. Firstly, I'm going to heal Loren. Goblin. Grub. He's done some smoke cloud magic. It hits my entire party. Now, Dora, she can use camouflage that increases defense. We'll use that. Draco is going to use his fireball. I'm going to use it on the front row to start off with. Got a burning ailment. Reduces attack value and lowers fire resistance and inflicts 33 HP each turn, so we can probably ignore those two for the moment because they're burning. And Dora, let's see, she's got, at the moment she's only got aim shot, but we can do that. One down. Sometimes the magic using bad guys have healing powers as well, and they can heal and resurrect. So we want to make sure Grob doesn't do that. See, he just resurrected one of those guys, which is not fair. Technically I can do it as well, but knock him out. Knock down, not knock him out. And we'll just kill him again. Grob's down. Oh no, that wasn't Grob. They swapped positions. Confused me. Oh, do we not have enough? We don't have enough energy points to use use our spell, so we'll just use a bolt. They do restore over time. Eleanor, aim shot. Loren, basic attack. Draco, down to 2 hit points. Dora! Oh, Dora has this really annoying status ailment now called Paralyzed. She can't do anything except defend or use items. We're just going to defend because we don't need any items. Grob just healed himself. Loren's going to hit him again. Loren's going to hit him again. And Draco still doesn't have enough to use a spell, so there's Grob down. Oh, we could just need to kill the rest of them now. Again. One left. Done! Level up Draco. We wanna we could level up his fire spell, or we could get a new spell. Since each spell does different elemental damage, and not everybody not everyone is susceptible to fire, so let's get a blizzard spell as well. Put everything in will. Level up Dora. Again, everything is skill. Gonna learn pinning attack, pinning shot, which it only works on a staggered target, but it paralyzes. So there we go. We got some more inventory items. After a series of attacks from the party, Grob finally gives up. The creature collapsed, struggling to breathe. One says, "You've lost. Do you have anything to say before I kill you?" Grob just says, "Just one thing." Grob lifted his shaft and growled, an incantation that cast a spell over the entire group. Draco had no time to protect them in an anti-curse, and the group was instantly paralysed. Loren struggled against the spell, but Grob's sorcery was too much, even for her. Grob says, "You may have managed to defeat me this time, but this is far from over. I have another surprise for you." The dead goblins and thugs whom the group had killed were changing form, turning into what looked like city guards. Though they were in a pool of blood, the guards' uniforms were unmistakable. You're in serious trouble now. I mean, didn't we already kill city guards earlier? Like Rob said, "I do hope you like humans, Amazon Queen. You're going to rot in the Empire's prison now." Grob disappeared, fading into thin air just as he had appeared. The screams were enough to alert local guards to come running to see what had happened. Dora says, "This is bad." Draco says, "Blast that Grob, he's followed me again. You think I do better by now?" Eleanor says, "We have more to worry about right now." Guard says, "Halt, lower your weapons." Despite the demands of the guard, Loren had no intention of surrendering. She tried to resist as the soldiers swarmed around them, shouting obscenities. It was futile. There were too many of them, as anyone's hands were shackled behind them, and they pushed through the street to their fate. It says, "Unhand me at once." Guard says, "Cease your struggling, wench. Wench, you will die this day." Eleanor says, "Your Majesty, no!" Dora says, "Fighting will only make us look guilty. Just let them take us in. I promise I can get us out." Eleanor says, "You promise." Dora says, "Dwarf's honour." Draco says, "That's nonsense. You can't promise to get us free from a jail cell." Dora says, "Yes, I can. I bet you 10 gold I can." The guard pushed Eleanor forward harshly, and she stumbled forward with a groan. Draco says, "Listen, I can cast a flash spell to blind them all right now. It'll give us more than enough time to escape. We can take horses and seek refuge with the elves and druids. They're friendlier than these guys by far." Guard says, "What are you guys whispering? Shut up." After the guard moved back to the straining Loren, Eleanor inched back to Draco and Dora. Eleanor says, but the Empire. Draco says, oh, those guys, fair. Bunch of big meanies, really. They'll just enslave us, no trial or anything, but we can escape right now with my magic. This was a key decision that rested upon their shoulders at the late hour of the night. While their journey was still just in its early stages, it's important of this choice was unparalleled. But they had to make the decision quickly, and this is exactly what they did. Okay. This decision changes the path through the first chapter of the game, and it depends on which faction we will meet first. It changes which faction we will meet first. If we follow Draco's plan, we'll end up meeting the Elven faction. If we stay here, we'll end up meeting the Empire faction. So I'm going to ask people to pick, because I have played both routes through before. So it only depends on which faction you want us to side with to begin with. If we want to side with the Human Empire, we escape from jail. If we want to side with the Elven Forest Freedom Fighters, then we want to run to the Elves, okay? Hi, this is Phoephoe. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment, and if you really liked it, please subscribe.